Have you ever met someone who makes you question your own memories? Someone who makes you feel guilty for things you didn't do? Someone who slowly changes the way you think, the way you feel, and even the way you see yourself. The scary part? Most toxic people don't control others through force. They control them through psychology. Not with obvious threats, but with subtle mind games that slowly wear down your confidence and make you dependent on their approval. And by the time most people realize what's happening, they're already trapped in a cycle of confusion, guilt, and self-doubt. Today, we're going to explore 5 mind games toxic people play, and, more importantly, how to recognize them before they take control of your life. Toxic behavior doesn't always look toxic in the beginning. In fact, the most manipulative people often appear charming, caring, and trustworthy. But beneath that surface lies a pattern of psychological tactics designed to gain power, avoid responsibility, and keep others emotionally dependent. Once you understand these patterns, you'll start seeing them everywhere, in friendships, relationships, workplaces, and even families. Let's begin. Have you ever been absolutely certain that something happened, only for someone to convince you that you're remembering it wrong? That's gaslighting. It's one of the most dangerous psychological tricks because it attacks the very foundation of your confidence, your perception of reality. A toxic person might say, "That never happened. You're overreacting. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive." At first, you defend yourself. But after hearing it enough times, you begin to question your own memory. Imagine confronting a friend about something hurtful they said. Instead of apologizing, they laugh and tell you that you're being dramatic. Weeks later, you start wondering if maybe they're right. Little by little, you stop trusting yourself and start depending on them to tell you what's real. And that's exactly the goal. Toxic people know that guilt is one of the strongest emotions a person can feel. That's why they use it as a tool. Instead of respecting your boundaries, they make you feel selfish for having them. You say no to a favor, and suddenly they say, "After everything I've done for you, I guess I just care more about this relationship than you do. You've changed." The conversation is no longer about your decision. It's about making you feel guilty enough to give in. Imagine working all week and finally deciding to spend one evening alone. A toxic friend immediately accuses you of abandoning them. Suddenly, you're apologizing for simply taking care of yourself. The goal isn't understanding. The goal is control. One of the most frustrating mind games toxic people play is turning themselves into the victim, no matter what happened. You confront them about lying. They start talking about how stressed they've been. You explain that they hurt your feelings. They remind you of all the problems they're dealing with. Before you know it, you're comforting the very person who hurt you. Imagine catching someone breaking a promise. Instead of taking responsibility, they begin talking about how hard their childhood was, how nobody understands them, or how everyone is against them. The original problem disappears. The focus shifts to their pain. And somehow, you end up feeling guilty for speaking up. This tactic works because empathetic people naturally want to help others. Toxic people know that, and they use compassion as a shield against accountability. Have you ever wondered why some people become emotionally attached to toxic relationships? The answer often lies in something psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. One day, the person treats you like you're the most important person in the world. They're loving, supportive, and attentive. The next day, they're distant, cold, and unavailable. Then suddenly, the affection returns. And so begins the cycle. Imagine a slot machine in a casino. If it paid out every time, people would eventually get bored. But because the reward is unpredictable, people keep pulling the lever. Toxic relationships often work the same way. You never know when the next moment of affection will come. So you keep hoping, waiting, and chasing the version of that person you fell in love with. You're no longer attached to who they are. You're attached to who they might become. The final mind game is isolation. Toxic people understand that strong relationships give you perspective. Friends and family can warn you when something isn't right. So they slowly try to separate you from those people. They might say, "Your friends don't really care about you. Your family doesn't understand us. Why do you need anyone else when you have me?" At first, these comments seem harmless. But over time, you begin spending less time with the people who support you. Your world becomes smaller, and the toxic person becomes the center of it. Imagine being on a ship in the middle of the ocean. The farther you drift from land, the fewer places you have to turn when a storm arrives. Isolation works the same way. The fewer connections you have, the easier you are to control. Here's the frightening truth. Toxic people don't usually destroy someone's confidence overnight. They do it gradually. One small lie, one guilt trip, one broken boundary at a time. And because these mind games are subtle, many people don't recognize them until they've already lost trust in themselves. So ask yourself, have you ever apologized for something that wasn't your fault? Have you ever questioned your own memories because of someone else's words? Have you ever sacrificed your peace just to avoid disappointing someone? Sometimes, the most important relationship you can protect is the relationship you have with your own mind. The most dangerous mind games aren't the ones that control your actions. They're the ones that change the way you see yourself. Because the moment someone convinces you to doubt your own reality, they gain power over your life. And maybe the greatest form of self-respect is learning to recognize those games and refusing to play them. Until next time, stay safe, and thank you very much for watching.